right, I know people are still kind of coming in, but we'll just kind of start a little bit. And I'd love to just kind of hear if you guys would each be willing to share. Again, you can put in the chat, or if you'd like to just kind of come on and unmute yourself. We'd just love to hear, yeah, just something about kind of where you're coming into today, like to get present. Is there like a high or a low that affected your day today that you'd like to share? So while we're waiting for people, we'd love to, yeah, I would love to hear from you. And Colleen, you can go ahead and take that slide down now. I'd just like to have that up as people are joining. Okay. Oh, cool. Well, yeah, so I'm just having people say if you got a high or low, so put it in the chat, or if you'd like to come on screen. We'll just kind of go until give a couple more minutes for just whoever's joining tonight to pop on. We got a quiet group tonight. Is it one of those Mondays, everybody? Love that. That's so fun. It's so great to love the people you work with, and just have that fun little chit chat stuff is great. Good. Thanks for sharing. Well, anybody else? That's huge when you have like just safe connections. That's really, I'm glad to hear that. That's really cool. And I love the heart emojis there too. I love that. Oh, okay, we'll give you like 30 more seconds, and we're going to do kind of another just check-in, so you can just check in with yourself. But 30 more seconds if you'd like to share a high or a low of something, you're kind of where you are as you come in today. Okay, well, cool. Well, let's go ahead and do a check-in. Just get present. I know sometimes when you come in, especially sliding into these things, there's so much that happens in a day, and we just, and especially in this culture with technology stuff, we don't often process the day or like how you're doing. So let's just take a second, like you to just get cozy. So just let's check in on your body first. It's always really important to get your body as much in the room as possible, and emotional checks don't go as well if we don't do that first. So I just want you to just do a body scan. So I'll just kind of walk you through. So just get cozy. I'd love to have you, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. For some people that doesn't feel safe. So if not, then just do like a soft gaze down, just something to kind of minimize distractions. Then I'd love to have you just start up to bring your mental focus, once your eyes are closed, up to your hairline. And just to slowly scan down your forehead, the side of your face, your cheek muscles, your jaw. And then even just in your face, I want you to see if you can find something that feels tense or activated in somehow. Just some sort of bodily tension or just disconnected. And then some part of just your face that feels okay or calm. So I'm just going to give you a second. There's so many things that our sensory body just tells us all the time. And I want you to just kind of see if you can notice just one thing that feels tense, if there is anything. And the part that feels okay, it might be an earlobe, or it might be your hairline. And just noticing. And remember, we're noticing with compassion, not with judgment. So if you feel like your brow is really furrowed, or your jaw has been tight a lot of the day, notice with compassion what your body's telling you. If you'd like to stay and just focus on those spots, go for it. Otherwise, feel free to go down your neck and into your shoulders. And this is where I'd like you to just kind of experiment, what does your body need? So kind of tilt your head from side to side, you can roll your neck, you can give it a massage. It's a very big spot that a lot of people really struggle and hold tension there. It's just really saying, hey, body, you do so much for me all day today. What do you need from me? And then to kind of go down and into, again, stay at any of these spots, you choose. You can linger there as long as you like. If you stay in that next spot the whole time, great. These are important areas for you to be able to choose what your body needs. Then if you feel ready enough, you can go down into your arms and to give yourself kind of like a stretch. And you can roll your wrists. Stretch any part of your arms that's needed. And then go down into your chest and your lungs. And to just take a second to notice your breathing. Notice, is it regular? Is it rapid? Is it slow? And just notice. And then take a moment to just feel a sense of awe that, wow, your lungs breathe all day, whether you consciously think about it or not. And feel like you can feel that heartbeat too. So your heart has pumped all day long. Despite there being a lot of responsibilities in life, it's one thing that you don't have to do. It just beats for you. And then just notice how you feel as you dwell on that thought. And then go down your stomach. Again, some people have stomach pains, especially trauma work. There can be a lot of stomach stuff. So just notice if your stomach feels good, okay, or struggling. Then again, give kind compassion if it needs it. And then same thing down your spine. You can even just like wiggle a little bit in your seat. And just to feel all those vertebrae and all they have to be working correctly for you to have walked around like you did all day. Or for those who might, watch this as well, not everyone is able-bodied who may see this as well, but to give a piece of gratitude for something in your body that does work well. Then go down into your legs. You go ahead and stretch them out. If you'd like, you can pump your ankles up and down, roll them to the sides. And again, to see if you can feel just that gratitude for all your legs have done for you all day today. And then let's do an emotion check. Let me just check if you have any mad, sad, scared, lonely. That can be a harder one to name. Or if you just feel your brain is like racing like squirrel brain because you've had 1,000 things to do all day today. If so, just notice the flight response and just take some slower breaths if you need them. Any of that fight flight needs us to calm our system. If you notice you're really dissociated or just disconnected, and you actually want to open your eyes to orient with your eyes. So if you feel that, feel free to do that, to look around your space or to look down at your body as you're doing the body scan can also be helpful. But I want you to see, is there any kindness or compassion that your heart needs for just the things that you felt today? If you had an interaction with somebody that was just kind of off-putting, to give yourself empathy for that, especially if that person didn't, if they didn't do a reconciliation there. And see if there's some encouragement that you can give your own heart to say, I saw you working so hard today, or I saw you struggling today. I'm so sorry that it's hard. I don't judge you. I don't shame you. You're allowed to feel that, and that always is showing up for a reason. So just see, does your heart need to feel this sense of you are valuable, not just for what you do, but just for who you are. Even if you didn't accomplish anything today, you are valuable. And say, heart, I'm working on seeing you and what you need. I want to be the kindest parent that you need. And then if any resistance rises when you try to receive this compassion, again, notice it, and notice it with kindness, because it often might not have even been safe to hope for compassion or comfort. So just notice it. Thank it for coming up for you. And then just see if you can focus again on the compassion that your heart really needs. Okay. Then we're going to wrap up here in about 30 seconds. We're going to just kind of ground out of this. But I want you to see if there's anything else that your heart needs from you, or even just see, is there something that your heart needs you to return to after this? And you can feel free to write it down if you'd like, just something to help you remember. But just to notice if there's anything else that your heart needs more of, and say, okay, I'm going to try to meet that need later tonight. Or if you don't know and you feel stuck, again, that's what I'm here for. That's what this group is here for too. So you can always feel free to come on screen and share if this was a battle for you, or if there's anything else that you need assistance with too. So just know that help is there. And if so, just put it in the chat if you would like that. Then I'm going to have you go ahead and just focus on just the senses of the seat beneath, behind you. And just to feel the pressure of it holding you up. And then when you're ready to start to open your eyes, and I want you to look around your space and just find one thing that you like. So much of life, we can be prone to focus on threats or things we don't like or things that aren't clean or good enough. But I want you to just focus on something that you like. And to notice even the freedom of choice to be able to focus your mind on that thing that you like and enjoy it. Okay. Well, I know we talked about doing the 4 Fs, so I would love to have you guys, again, the chat is there for interaction, but it's also to help you. The more you check in with you, the more it helps you be aware of what's going on inside of you. So as these check-ins, you'd like to either put it in the chat or come on screen, you can say, what I'd like you to see on a 1 through 10, if you were in a 4F state, and then before we started that exercise, and then to see if that dropped at all. So if you feel like, gosh, yeah, I was so dissociated when I came into this call, like a 7, and I feel like it dropped to a 4, great. Or it maybe increased to a 9. Great, good noticing. So you want to notice that, because that always happens for a reason. Or if you felt some sort of fight flight, some sort of buzzy bee energy or like angry energy, to rank that too, and then to say, did it increase or decrease? So this is just noticing. Okay, there's literally no wrong answer. I just want you to put your first number is what were you before doing that, and what are you now? And again, anything is okay. So just give you a second to do that. And again, you can put it in the chat, or you can come on screen and share as well. And while people are doing that, do another check-in to see, is there anything that you need, even practically, like, some water or a snack or something to help you be more comfortable. Notice and feel permission to do that too. None before and same now. Okay, so just kind of just chilling. So no 4F, fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, but just kind of good. Also chilling. Nice. A really hard day. Yeah, that's really hard. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I hope your heart gets what you need here too. It's so hard when you're especially caring and doing all that for somebody else. To check in on you too is pretty important. I see an 8 to 9 before and now a 4. Good. So yeah, so notice it's wild, right? Like how much we can be like super activated, whether it's like freeze or fight, all that stuff. And then to like, woof, yeah, just those simple exercises can be really powerful. So good. Key in mind. So I don't know if you were trying to type something else, but just so you know, I don't think it quite came through. If you want to try again, it's just fight, flight energy before, making it hard for you to focus. Good. Yeah. Was having a hard time slowing down your brain, but after you started, you felt very grounded. So good. We can operate, and especially depending on how you grew up, if it was never safe to rest or just be found being still, it can, your whole life, you can operate like at a 7 to 10 level and just not even be aware of it. So that's great. You recognize. And did anybody have those spinny taps when you were growing up where you like crank it as much as you can? It just kind of like spins like this until it falls down. I think we're kind of like that, where the longer and the harder it spun, the longer and the harder that it just takes to unwind. Ruminating out of 10, much calmer now and got out of your head. Good. I'm glad if that was helpful. Yeah, it is. So co-regulation with people is huge, and just doing those exercises. A lot of times, I had this a lot, so we try to think our way through really big emotions. And I always, even in the hardest moments, I still struggle to catch it for myself, be like, okay, is my thinking productive? If not, I'm probably ruminating. And I need to do something to help my body get into a different nervous system state. We're going to talk more about that probably the next group. We'll probably won't get there today, but yeah, that's a hard one to just catch that ruminating. So good. Glad that was helpful. Okay. Cool. And if you don't want to say too, I'm trying to do a scan here. So if you don't want to say anything too, just put pass, or just, I just don't want to miss people if you'd like to say something. Okay. Well, notice that when we do this stuff too, and part of it, the experiential stuff is really huge. So doing the body stuff, but then also we're going to do some more with like the childhood stuff today. It really is in the experiencing, and your whole body has to do it. It's really not in the intellect and not in hearing about or learning factual information. And that can be helpful. We need that too, but we've got to be able to, yeah, get into our body. So good. Okay. Well, cool. If anybody wants to say anything else, again, feel free to put it in there or unmute yourself. And if not, Colleen, would you actually hold off on that? I would love, so another kind of interaction thing, I'd love to have people, if we could do a go around. Again, if you don't want to speak, you can just put a pass in the chat. But I'd love to have, if you can think of a surrogate, or if you did in the past couple of weeks, or if you just joined today and you're not sure, that's okay. But I'd like you to share, or if you've done these before, but what's an idea of a safe surrogate? If you're stuck, just say that too. There's no shame in that. It's sometimes it's a very hard step to do. But if you've done some of this before, you might already have had yours. But we just chatted about doing 3 to 4 safe surrogate figures. And I'd like you to share a little bit about what about it made that person safe. Something about their body state. They were calm. They weren't in a rush. They weren't rigid. They weren't tense. What was it? Because your body reads safety, but we don't always break it down. So I want you to just kind of see what about it makes me feel safe with them. And then emotionally, okay, they weren't in angry, tense land all the time. Great. Okay. But what about it? If you can name it, again, if you can't, that's okay. But it's helpful to kind of flesh it out. And so that we consciously notice more in the moment in interactions with people to break it down that way. So I'd love to, if we can do a go around, maybe I could just do my screen or trying to think. 'Cause I know for some people it's like, oh, don't call on me. Well, we'll just go around and then I'll just call on people if you haven't gone yet or something like that. But you can put it in the chat or just come on and unmute yourself. Okay, Nancy, you got a Mrs. something. We got a partial again. A person was an encourager. Good. So in words, was positive encourager. Okay. Mrs. and annoy her. Okay. And what was it about states, her demeanor? What was it about her that made her feel safe to you? Oh, and yeah, I think you're muted. So you look down at the bottom of your screen, there's like a microphone. So if you push that, it'll unmute you. Always the givers in some season of life. I love that. And how sweet that little you, not even fully consciously realizing you're drawn to love and you're drawn to safety. So just so neat that you just kept going over there because there's something that she was doing for you that you knew that you needed, especially in lots of hard stuff. That's really beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Side felt safe to be myself around her. That's huge. Yeah, how many of us have so many different masks, whatever feels acceptable. I think I said this last time. Gabor Mate talks about we give up authenticity, the authentic self, for attachment. So whatever feels not safe to show up with a person, we hide. So that's pretty huge, and you just feel like you can be whatever version of yourself. So that's huge. Good. And again, remember, and if you were stuck too, again, just a reminder, this doesn't have to be a real person. If you feel really stuck, it's actually okay to use like TV shows, because we go with what resonated with your heart and just say, okay, then I'm going to apply that. What I saw in there, that person was safe. They were seen. They were relaxed with emotion, just comforting. Okay, then I'm going to apply that to my wound over here. We chatted about the physical wound analogy last time. You can also use, I think I forgot to say this last time, but you can also use it's called the good enough parent. So if your parent would have gone through healing themselves, what would that have felt like for them to be a safe person, to be validating, to be compassionate, to not be punishing, judging, or just withdrawal, dismissive? So for some people, that's way too difficult to even imagine, and they actually get really triggered into a big 4F even trying. If that's the case, don't do that. But if you can, just know that's another option that can also work for you. Okay. Miles was always smiling, just very chill and gracious. Yeah. So you think, so I can almost just kind of think this just kind woman with just, she's attuned, she's present, not in some angry state, and just, just kindness that's cool. Safe and loving. Good. Yeah, sometimes parents do, or sometimes there's moments, for some people, there's like, oh, there's this one moment I had with a parent. If I could have had that all the time, okay, then we go with that. But yeah, glad he was generally more safe and loving. Really sweet. So powerful when somebody just believes in you too. It's like you don't have to have all the things, but you just are capable. That's really sweet. Good. Was there anybody that's like, I'm blank or I'm stuck? I just can't think of a single person. Okay, nobody. Okay, well, good. And that's a huge one for people to not fly into high threat or judgy mode if there's a difference of opinion. That's a big marker of safety, is to be able to, you just disagree well, but to honor an opinion or create safety, even if you disagree. That's huge. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, let me scroll up. He wasn't fragile in a way. It's like yeah, good. So, and how often, right? I know I did this my whole life, but when we don't have that sense of safety with, can feel it, but when they get into that threat mode of somebody that's, doesn't have that response, but they get into threat of either reactive or just shut down or something, there's something in you that says they can't hold space for it. We oftentimes turn on ourselves instead of realizing, oh, that person is triggered. They're showing me how their emotions were tended, that they're not able to be able to sit with me in this because they have struggles. It's not that my emotions are too much. So I hear that all the time. People say, my emotions are too much. I'm too much. People say that all the time. Instead of realizing, no, it was just you were with a lot of people that they hadn't done their work and didn't know how to do emotion. You can sense like that is massively safe when you can feel that. Good. Yeah. Yeah, cool. I love you get the support in the chat there too. Good. Yeah. Cool. Okay. I'm trying to see. I think I have something you want to share. I don't want to move on or something with people. Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's such a great example of if you have love, that's the biggest thing. Instead of stuff, it's the connection and the love. And that's beautiful that your heart knew you were welcome there and wanted. And that is powerful. Especially as a kid, it's so hard because you always internalize, if I don't feel wanted, I am not wanted. There's something about me, I'm a burden or something, instead of realizing, oh, my parents having some issues if they can't have that kind of welcoming presence with you. That's a great example. Thanks for sharing. Well, thank you guys for sharing those. And this can be such a tricky topic for a lot of people too. And I love to, if you can't find, I would encourage you 3 or 4, maternal and paternal. I know for some people are like, no, I can't, that's impossible. I personally about revolted when I was told. I actually was told to find 8. And I was like, yeah, no way. There's no way, not gonna happen. I literally could not think of moments, let alone a person. And then again, if you ever struggle with that or feel like you're using these surrogates and the exercise I'm going to teach you how to do, and it feels like not enough, then that's okay. Pause it. If you get too high of a 4F state, you got to pause it and go on more of a scavenge, safe, protective. They're not fragile. There's a strength about them and they can hold space for that emotion. That's huge. You've got to have both kind and firm in that maternal and paternal people. So I just encourage you, go on, again, you can jump on YouTube. There's so much great content from phenomenal people out there. Movies that are not just about funny dysfunction, find ones that actually are teaching more positive interactions. So just keep finding. So I encourage each of you, just keep adding to those lists when you can, because it's really powerful. And your heart all along has known how to identify love and safety, but you didn't have the words for it when you needed it most. So just keep looking for those. Yeah. Because your research yes. So good question. Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to clarify, this can be anybody from any point in your life. Even if you're like, I didn't even watch any TV show growing up, that's fine. If you have a person right now, I don't care if it's a cashier at a grocery store that you're like, there's something about them. They don't get rattled when people are rude. There's just something calm and steady about them that I just like. It's like my body might literally take a side. Great, then put that person down. Or if you're walking through a grocery store and you see a parent that responds to a kid that's asking for everything under the sun in a way that's both kind and boundaried, that I'd love for you to have that thing, but we can't afford it right now. You want a hug? Should go right on your Christmas list. Just whatever little interactions. I just encourage you go look for them. And I had massive resistance to that. So if you do too, I have no judgment. It's just like, ooh, yeah, it's just hard. And also I'll say this too, because I think I needed this at points. When you have those moments, because you might even have moments where some of these surrogates, you're like, nope, doesn't work. I just can't even imagine. I can't go there. And great, validate why the resistance is going up. Because you might have to camp out and you had such a woeful lack of safety. That part of you needs to be heard before the other part of you is even willing to write down a name. So if you ever have that kind of resistance, write it down. Validate it, because it's always coming up for a reason. And I had to camp out on that quite a bit to just validate the level of the resistance is that incredibly high, because it's just showing that it was very, very few moments. So yeah, so look for it. But yeah, it can be a boss that you've had in your adult life. It can be a neighbor. It can be a random person at a coffee shop. But just look what feels safe and what feels loving, what feels kind and strong. It's like a really good combo. So yeah, so keep looking for those. And maybe as you guys share it, sometimes it can also, the benefit of group stuff is it can kind of trigger other people to kind of think of this one time, as we share stories. So yeah, Colleen. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. Yeah, and if you're new, Colleen's our host, so that's why she's like, can I share? Absolutely, you can. Yeah, thank you. And how beautiful, because in all of life as a kid, I think that is what was needed. You needed help. Whether you have big emotions and you're losing your temper and throwing a fit, well, you need help. How do you regulate emotions? Because that part of your brain develops far before this one. You need a regulated adult to help train and to soothe and then to teach. What else do you need? So in school setting, also at home, that's just, yeah, it's a great example. So thank you. Well, cool. Well, keep adding to those lists. Again, even if you have a one-time moment, but if you ever feel just angry resistance, always validate why it's there and don't push it. Just validate and camp out in that, because it needs validation. So, okay. Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to do a little bit of content, and then we're going to do another kind of experiential thing in a little bit. So, Colleen, if you could bring up, let me go to page 6. So in triggers, so with big emotions, your biggest emotional reactions as an adult are the biggest areas of wounding you had as a kid. So I'm going to have you guys read a list in a second, and I want you to just see what one, and again, you don't have to share this. I'm not going to ask. If you want, you can feel free to put it in the chat. But I want you to just see which one's on this list, and just unmute yourself and tell us if you need us to blow it up a little bigger or something. You will get this packet in your email too after this week. We'll give you it kind of in chunks here, but I want you to just read it and see what ones give you the biggest reactions. So biggest 4F responses. I'll go ahead and read it just for the sake of the audio for whoever watched this back, depending on your device. So I'll just read them, but go ahead and just read them on your own too. So I felt excluded. I felt powerless. I felt unheard. I felt scolded. I felt judged. I felt blamed. I felt disrespected. I felt a lack of affection. I felt I couldn't speak up. I felt lonely. I felt ignored. I felt I couldn't be honest. I felt like the bad guy. I felt forgotten. I felt unsafe, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, in any capacity, sexually. I felt unloved. I felt like it was unfair. I felt frustrated. I felt disconnected. I felt trapped. I felt a lack of passion. I felt uncared for. I felt manipulated. I felt controlled. So this list, there's 24. These are from, so the Gottman Institute, they've got really great stuff specifically for marital work. This is just a list, but there are thousands. I mean, pretty much anything can be a trigger, relationally, emotionally, or just, I mean, a t-shirt can be triggered. So many different things can give you big reactions, but these are some of the bigger ones, especially with relational triggers. So if you find some other ones that are just not on here, I'd love for you to identify, but just to give you an example and to just think through any of these, do you get a big fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, or anything? There's like this frantic energy inside, or really angry, you just want to throat punch somebody, or you just all of a sudden check out. And sometimes some of this is easier to identify when you're in triggers in the moment. It's easier to kind of in sessions, because we can kind of spot it when it's happening in the moment. Some of these you might not even know that it's a trigger, and then years down the road it starts to really come up because something brings it out. And sometimes people are like, oh, it's just this person, I was fine till I got in this relationship. What? No, it was just one of those things that wasn't identified yet. Because you cannot have a reaction unless you don't have that kind of Velcro here. So nothing sticks to you, or nothing pokes and gets that reaction if there's not something inside that you're reacting to. And I, again, had all sorts of snark when I was first told that, because it's like, no, this person was abusive. This person did this. Well, okay. But I would not have gotten confused or angry or reactive if there wasn't something here. So it still needs healing. So validate if it was abusive, it was not okay. Validate that. But if it gets a big reaction, then remember it's that emotional sunburn. So these are really good examples of that, where it's like, again, that sunburn analogy that I shared, where you just kind of pat somebody on the back and you don't realize until they have a really big reaction that there's a wound there. There's a sunburn that's not healed. So same thing with your heart. These are those emotional sunburn moments. So I'm not going to go around for this. I know this one can, I think, be extra difficult sometimes for people, so I don't want to force anybody to share. But would anybody like to? Did anything on there jump out at you? Or even if you read it and you're like, oof, I don't know why that just stuck out to me, but it did. Is there anything that did stick out to anybody on here that you would like to share? That's where I always like to say it's really important to validate both. So say like, oh yeah, if he was being like disrespectful and not hearing you, or all those things, like those are wounds. It's harder to identify neglect than it is outright overt hurtful or abusive things. So I'm glad you can kind of name some of that. So it's important to validate that. But this is where it's, and I wish there were like clearer lines, but you just can know. I always say if it's a capital E emotion, then it's both past and present. And it's a helpful exercise when you're working through triggers, which we'll keep, as we're going, we're going to talk more about how you do that. But to start seeing if you can explore, does this feel like a 20-80? Does it feel like a 60-40? Like how much of the reaction do you feel like is about the present moment? And just know if it's a capital E emotion, you are always, it's a both and, right? It's, you want to validate, I don't like how that person did that, but also know I wouldn't be really reactive in a 4F or not okay, or feel like I need them to do something in order for me to be okay if you didn't have stuff back here. So this is where we oftentimes in adult relationships get into like a control dynamic, because say one of the things for me has been validation. So throughout a lot of my journey, stuff is very hard because people that cause immense hurt, there's no validation. Or in the healing process too, remember, you're like that burn victim where it's extra sensitive. So when people do those things in this process, sometimes it hurts even more. But for you to be able to recognize, okay, it's both here and here. I can't control that person to do that, but I can learn how to be okay because I feel this back here. And then I can know, oh, I can see that person doing that dysfunctional pattern over there in this like bubble away from me is a helpful exercise to envision and to say like, huh, I don't need them to validate because I cannot validate it for myself. Even though if you're in a spot that feels like impossible to do right now, just know that's okay. It's a process. But the more that you're able to do that, the more you don't feel this need for control. I think all of us can tend towards control in some fashion or another, because when you don't get stuff back here, it's like life or death. So you're trying to control to get it now. So yeah, does that make sense? I feel like I kind of jumped ahead of myself and kind of a little bit all over the place, but yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good example. So for all of you, as you start to, again, any of these, like if you feel excluded, that never feels good. But if it's like, ooh, now you're spiraling, kind of like you're saying the rumination word later, you're ruminating, all of a sudden you're spiraling. It's not just I felt excluded, is I am excludable. I'm not worth spending time with. Nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. And if you're going there, okay, then you got to go here. I mean, that's where the safe surrogates come in, which we'll do a little exercise a little bit later on. Okay, and then your body is always listening, and it's always interesting when you have a reaction to it. It's like, okay, there's something there, and that's huge. So trapped, powerless, stuck, especially if you're using those words as an adult too, in a moment, that's always a marker. You're back here, because trapped, you're not, usually trapped as an adult with no options. You're not powerless, but those are huge ones as a kid, and then you go into adulthood with this sense of feeling trapped, stuck. I can't do anything. And it makes a massive difficulty to overcome. So good. Well, I want to do a little, so as we read that, because I love how you were saying there's a reaction that happened inside of you. I want everybody to take a second to ground right now, because you might be activated even right now just by reading those things. So I want you to just look around. We'll just do the look behind both shoulders. I want you to go slowly. Again, this stuff sounds strange, maybe, but I want you to show your body that anything we read on that list is not happening to you now in this present moment. Then I want you to just kind of also tilt your head, look up at the ceiling. And then do it again on the other side. Your body is show, not tell. And even as we're reading these things, it's really important, because sometimes I didn't even recognize the activation that was going on inside of me when I was doing major trauma work in group settings and hearing thing after thing after thing and having no idea. It was highly dissociated. So I just want you guys to get aware, or even if you have like notice it right now, even if you have this addiction impulse or something, you're like, I want to scroll all of a sudden, or I want food, or I want whatever it is. Or if you feel a flight energy too, I'd encourage you, actually, let's do another one. I'm going to do the hand thing because it's a very simple one. I want you to just kind of shake them fast and just see, what feels better in your body. I'm going to have you do more of that one in just a second. And then go ahead and try medium. And then go really slow, like you're moving through molasses. And then just notice if your body takes a little bit deeper breath, or if you all of a sudden have more of this, like, okay, I feel like I'm in the room again. Okay, your body is truly always listening, going through the needs list, going through this trigger list. You can abruptly start even having low-grade dissociation and not fully be tuned into it. So we want to tune in and just say, okay, body, you're reacting always for a reason. So thanks for doing that. And if you need more too, I want to give permission, and I had to do this a lot. So if you ever leave screen, no, I have no judgment, or you might just literally need to use the bathroom. Doesn't matter. Listen to your body, or listen to what your heart needs. If you feel like you got to go walk, I had to get off screen a lot and just keep shaking. I didn't even know why sometimes. I just felt this absolute franticness. So again, whatever comes up here, I have seen someone, just myself personally, and also been through so many groups. Or if you all of a sudden have major emotion, I would love to be with you in it, not feel like you're struggling on your own or trying to suppress it because your face is on a screen. Okay, so just read if you ever need something or need to be walked through. Would love to help you ground more if you need help, because we are relational. Sometimes you just can't do it on your own. We're supposed to do it in community. So at any point, if you need that, just let me know. Okay. Well, so read your body. If there's anything else you can think of that you need right now, feel free to do that. Also, pillows are great resources, just something that you can kind of hug, or I love like a cozy sweater or something to just kind of just really feel that, is really important when we're doing some of this stuff. Okay. Okay. Well, any questions on that, the body part, feeling activated through this part, or any of the other triggers or anything that you'd like to ask on? Well, would you actually be open to doing a bit of an experiential about that? Well, and I'd love for anybody to also join this, or if it feels too difficult, you can't emotionally go there, or you just consciously recognize it. So if you almost got to see it out here, or just listen to my voice as if it's far off, imagine doing that, because sometimes anger especially was incredibly mistreated. And it was kind of like it said in here, number 12, I felt I couldn't be honest. Anger is a hard one. You feel often like you can't be honest, or it puts you in more threat instead of safety. So yeah. Okay. What I'd like you to do is, and again, anybody feel free. It's more important to me that you have an emotional outlet. So if you need to turn off camera, mic at any point to have an emotional outlet, do that. If you can stay on screen, would love to have you here. But I'd rather have you have the outlet. But if you get to 7, 8, 9, 10, I can't state your nervous system state for you, but if you start to feel like it's you can't be with it, it's getting too big, do the grounding or one of the exercises that we've kind of been practicing throughout this series to kind of help you get here again, to help your body be like, okay, it's not happening now. And then we'll keep building your capacity to be with it. Okay, so just kind of disclaimers. But I would love to have you, if you are comfortable, and feel free to stop at any point. But I want you to actually, we'll do a little you exercise, because I'd like to process that. I want you to imagine feeling that anger coming up, and then we're going to work with your safe surrogate. Okay, so for anybody that feels safe enough to do this, or you can just listen if you're like, I can't go there right now, then that's okay. But anybody that can, go ahead and close your eyes, or do that soft gaze down. If closing your eyes feels too threatening, honor your body. So just do that soft gaze. And then I want you to go ahead and picture little you, and just see what age comes to mind. So when you're describing that kind of anger, like, don't judge me, I deserve to be heard. How old do you feel like you were when you're thinking that? Okay. Well, let's go. I always like to go the youngest your nervous system will allow. So let's go ahead and go with that junior high you, if that's okay. Okay. And I want you to imagine, who would you have felt that around? More mom, dad, both, a sibling? Then I want you to imagine your anger starting to come up inside of you. And where do you feel it in your body? Like, what feels activated in your body? Good. So notice that. And then when your anger wants to come up and out, then what happens? Does it turtle? Is there a tension? Do you suppress it? Like, what happens? Or does it come out at mom in a really dysregulated state? Or does it feel like it just goes inward? And I want to imagine pausing, because that's your body in threat mode. So I want to just imagine that you're there as a little kid with your mom. I want to just imagine somebody comes and they hit pause. And I want you to imagine your safe surrogate figure coming into the room. Your anger. And imagine your safe surrogate hitting pause and then coming up beside you. Now I want you to imagine she's calm, and I want you to imagine she notices you. And you can tell there's this kind attunement, like she just comes up and just puts her arm around you and takes you out of the room, if you're okay with that. And I want you to imagine she walks slowly out of that room, and she walks far enough away from your mom until she notices your body relax a little bit. So I want you to imagine, how far away would you have to be for your body to feel safe enough to relax a little bit? Notice that. And would you feel safer talking with her outside of the house, or would you feel safer once you got into her house? She sits down with you, and her body movement is slow. She's not in a rush, and she just tunes in. And she just says, honey, I could tell you really got tense back there. And then she says, you know what? That makes a lot of sense because that's what your mom was doing too. Did you notice that she was tense? And then she said, I noticed that you were mad. And you know what? Your mad was coming up for a reason because what your mom was doing wasn't good. And I'm sorry that she didn't notice that it didn't check what she was doing so that she could make a change because that was her not being a safe person. And then she just sits with you and just lets you process it. And she just tells you, anytime your body tenses like that, it's telling you the truth, that mom's not being safe. And I'm sorry that she's doing that because of all people you want to feel safe and that you can tell your honest truth to, it's your mom. And I don't know why your mom is reacting that way, but she's just doing that because of her stuff, because she didn't learn how to be safe with whatever was going on back there. If you were to imagine like you could watch little you having this conversation with your aunt, what would you notice about little you? Her body posture, her emotions? Like what would be going on for her as she was hearing all of that? And see it. Good. Yeah. So she was safe and she connected you to you so you could be congruent. So you could notice my body and my heart are reacting this way for a reason. You didn't have to divorce yourself in order to feel safe with the adult that was in front of you, who was your mom. Yeah. Good. And your body just melting into your aunt is, yeah, that was a sign that what she was doing was creating the safety to be able to do that, which is what you needed with your mom.
Right.
Yeah. Good. Well, I want you to see if little you would sense if you think she would have wanted something more from your aunt, some more validation, or maybe wanting to go do something with her. If she could have had any choice, like what else do you think she would want from your aunt in that moment? Yeah, I love that. And how beautiful. So imagine just doing that with her. And just notice if you feel even now any lightness in your body is what you would have felt back then too. Duncan says, as you feel pain, you feel comfort, you go play. It lightened you up to know I'd like some hot chocolate. I love that. That's that natural rhythm that we're supposed to have with a rupture. That's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing. Well, everybody, I'd like you to just slowly kind of orient back to your space now. So, and if you were able to sink into that, I'd like you to just notice if you felt any lightness to kind of keep that with you while you kind of just ground back into your space. Because all of these, whether you're directly going or not, can be activating. So I want you to just look around your space or notice if you have resistance to that for whatever reason. Be kind to it. Be curious about it. All this stuff can bring up so many reactions and they always, always make sense. So just kind of reorient to the here. Mm. And then if you've got any things like as you were doing that, would love to have you put in the chat, like if something on that resonated with you too. So any of you guys, when you go with these, sometimes, especially if you have a really, really big emotional outlets, okay, I had endless of them. So again, any of you that have anything, emotions that come up, I want you to feel totally safe to do that because your body just needs to release it. But if you had just something kick up inside of you, or if you felt stuck, or if you just had reaction, or you just want to encourage, helpful for me to hear, great, go ahead and put that in the chat, or you can come on and share that too. Yeah, I'm trying to the last three. So Had quite a long day, so I'm trying to think if I even saw so forgotten and unloved, scolded and ignored, lonely and misunderstood. Okay, so for the triggers, I think, yeah. Yeah, good. And the more that we are consciously, our body reacts all the time, but the more that we are consciously aware of our triggers, then we can help our heart. And the hard part is we often want other people to do it for us, especially as an adult. But the more that you can be consciously aware of these, again, anything can trigger. But it's just really, really a huge part of the journey is just being consciously aware of what you've been unconsciously driven of your whole life. Mm. Oh, because I think it is important. Your heart, in order to believe it, has to see it in a real person. But again, even if it's in a TV show or a movie, if you can't, sometimes you can. I think that it might be possible to do that just to kind of like make up somebody or to even say, I'm going to take pieces, excuse me, from just different people. That's also, I think, could be helpful. But when possible, I would just encourage you to keep doing a scavenger hunt. But again, it took me a while to have any ability to think if somebody was safe. And I had to keep being challenged. Like, you got to find the safe enough or the safe enough moments. Like, I was like, okay, is there a millisecond that I felt any semblance of safety with somebody? Okay, yeah, this person was kind once. Okay, start with that. It's sadly so uncommon to have kindness, and especially like I'm so glad that with the anger one that came up, because I think it's one of the most abused emotions. Um, so it's very, very hard to find somebody who's not triggered by anger into fight or flight, sometimes fawn or freeze. It's very hard to find safety with that emotion in particular. Yeah, so good question. Does that make sense? Good. Well, Colleen, go ahead and you can take that worksheet down. Sometimes I almost forget. I'm like, all the bubbles are so little, like, oh yeah, we can change that in a second. There we go. Yeah, well, any other, yeah, I guess comments or questions on that? Or was anybody else able to kind of sink in to feel or to experience the same thing while we were doing that? Or did people feel more like it was just hard to sink into or just distant or distracted? And this part of this process, I think it leads to a grief that's always there too. It makes you even more consciously fully aware and to have it validated that wasn't okay. Because you did need to have safe people that you could run to when parents weren't safe. You needed parents to be safe to begin with, at least, not perfectly, but consistently. So yeah, that's a major grief to not have that. And it might, you'll have to, I'd like to say, try it on, try on some different people, or you might have to use adult you to just say like, no, adult me, I feel the defender inside of me to say, I'm going to go and get that kid out of that place, because don't ever treat me that way again. Then great. You picture adult you going in and doing that too. So I don't know if that'd be more of a realistic or something you're able to more imagine. But again, the grief is you'd like a parent figure to do it. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And I'm sure probably relatable with other people as well. Because that's a really, yeah, that's a hard one. So, and again, you guys all keep thinking of different people at whatever age, stage of life. If a random person when you were in college could have been there for little you, bring them there. We're just going to go with what your heart said was safe and what love was, and just go and bring that there. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Mm. And as we do this too, guys, this is it's a process, and at some points, depending on like where you're at, you need multiple safe people, or it just feels like nobody is safe enough, and we just got to keep getting you present and find enough safety in the present moment before you can ever dip back into stuff like that. So just know when you're doing this work, people's reactions are all over the place with ability to go there or ability to find those safe people. And yeah, yeah, incredibly lonely. Yeah. I know it took me years gosh, I'm trying to think even back just to be able to have the word for me of connection. I didn't even have that word for several years into being a counselor even, but to realize like you really do want, it's connection in your mad, sad, scared. And most people don't have connection in it. You have neglect or abuse, some sort of dismissal or some sort of punishment instead of just connection to allow it to be safe to come out all the way. And it is very lonely. And I think loneliness is one of the biggest unidentified triggers for a lot of people, because there's just that loneliness, or just feel like you can never be a whole connected person because people didn't have the safety to be able to do that when you were growing up because they were triggered. So yeah, cool. Well, thank you for doing that. Yeah, I was wanting to do an experiential, if possible, with a real life thing that was kind of surfacing in here. So thank you for sharing that. Okay. Well, is anybody, I want you to kind of check in with yourself, 4F states before you go. If we have capacity, we're just going to go through one more just worksheet thing. But I want you to just kind of see, where are you at? So the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, I want you to see, are any of those present inside of you? Even right now, you might still feel like, oh my gosh, I'm like all over the place, or I can't sink in or something. And if anybody, again, you'd like me to coach you specifically through it, it's valuable not just for you, for the whole group. I'd love to do that if anybody feels kind of activated right now, or if you do, if you'd rather not come on screen, then I want you to do one of those body-based exercises. So just validate it for yourself, recognize why it's coming up. See if you need some deep breaths. If you need to move your body, if you need to tense and release, if you need to stretch, say, body, what do you need? Well, if you keep needing something, again, do that. We'll just explain like the next worksheet, and then you'll get this little packet. And once we get the link uploaded again, I'll send the link and then also the packet for this, so you've got the full of what we've done so far. So yeah, Colleen, if you could bring up the next worksheet, I'd like to go through that. And there is so much to go through about triggers. We are very much not going to exhaust all possible information about this, but this I want to land with, again, the compassion on loving through and triggered you. So little you, kind of like I've said a few times, and I'll just keep saying it, you needed love the most when you were in big emotions and when you make mistakes. And that's oftentimes when you're the least loved. So we want to talk about, how do you love you, whether it's your true self or triggered self. So, and this is a really helpful framework too, for you to know what stance you're in. So your core self is also kind of how it's referred to, but your core, your true self is creative, compassionate, connected, calm, centered, clear-minded, tender-hearted, playful, confident, carefree, curious. So this is a state in your nervous system that you're just safe to be you and in a calm state. Now the triggered self, the rescue puppy, is a 4F. So there's all sorts of things, but it's just some examples are skeptical, defensive, dissociative, angry, demanding or controlling, anxious or edgy. The fawn or people please response. Capital U, urgency, is another big under-identified one. Overly busy or avoidant, moody or closed off, attention seeking, competitive, big passion. This also, sometimes people get really passionate about certain topics, and it can be beautiful, but it is different when it's from passion or it's from dysregulation. There is an extra edge. And when that's the case, then I always like to explore, okay, it's a 2080. So where did you experience this thing that you're advocating for back here because your heart needs help? Otherwise, you're in self-neglect if you're constantly looking at these other things for other people, other circumstances, other situations. By all means, advocate and be passionate about stuff, but don't neglect you. Okay, and then otherwise, too, it's just from a different place. Also, the spiraling, catastrophizing, ruminating. So all of this stuff, when you think about triggered self and true self, that triggered self, the rescue person, that's not who you are, right? Just like we know for a rescue puppy, that's not who that puppy is. They're having a reaction because of past hurt. That is not who you are at your core. Who you are at your core is your core personality, and you are able to be calm, centered. And some people have never felt this in their life. And to just be able to try to touch a little bit of that, to feel what that would be like, to be able to be just carefree is very hard to even get to sometimes. So if you ever feel like that, just know that that's a very real thing. Then if you could scroll up a little bit, Colleen, I just want to read the the bottom little paragraph. I'm just going to pause, just let you kind of think on these questions a little bit. So do you treat yourself with the same compassion that you would a rescue puppy? Or do you add more punishment, abuse, or neglect? So I just think, so the last time that I had a rescue puppy moment, I got angry and lashed out at somebody, or I just flight ran away. I just froze and couldn't think straight. I fawned like heck and was manipulative, controlling. Do you judge, punish, or abuse yourself? Or do you actually have compassion because it was a rescue puppy version of you that was showing up? Do you shame your triggered self? Or do you show compassion and love to your triggered self? And also, you don't protect something that you don't love. So your triggered self and self-hatred, which is interesting, are actually warped signs that you're protecting and therefore deeply love your true self. So all self-hatred, judgment on yourself, shame, all these things, it's like you're trying to whack yourself in order to protect, in order to get the needs met. But they're actually signs that you do deeply love that core of who you are somewhere inside. And then what does shame or hatred sound like for the triggered self or those internal parts? So whatever parts of you have been shamed or mistreated, sometimes it's helpful to just break that down. So any of this stuff, if you have outside of here, I encourage you to write it down too. How am I treating myself? I just had a moment. I just went off on somebody, or I just did this. I just froze. I just whatever. What is the next thing that comes, and how do you treat yourself? Does that sound like love, which is patient and it's kind, or is it not? If it's not, then how do you get over to love and safety for yourself? And then what does compassion, love, or gratitude sound like? And is there anything else on the bottom of that one, Colleen? I can't remember offhand. Yes, the simple, you are not your triggers. I know for a lot of in my own life, I felt like I equated my fight self was who I was and hated it. And you would get so scared for people to see that and then reject, or just so many different things like that, instead of realizing, no, if you have to live in any 4F state for long periods, it's really sad and you need compassion. Okay, well, I'm going to end with some compassion on the triggered self, but do you guys have any questions on this? Questions, comments, things that resonated, anything like that before I do an exercise for the to kind of, I want to just close out our night with just compassion for the self. So yeah, any other questions or comments or anything on that? No? Okay. Well, go ahead and just get cozy then a second. And I want to give compassion. And when I first started doing this, I didn't know what the heck compassion even sounded like. So I like to just specifically model it as much as I can. And I want you to just take whatever it is that you need to kind of finish out your day with. So go ahead, if you can, again, close your eyes or do that soft gaze down to just try to help yourself focus. And again, notice any 4F state as we're going into this. You might just be tired. You know, it's late. Just acknowledge it. Any 4F thing coming up, just acknowledge that it's there and it's there for a reason. And I'm going to speak over your heart. And I want you to just take a second to see, do you want your adult self to kind of hear this? Or do you want to imagine like a little you hearing these words? So just see what one your heart can best receive right now. And I want you to see whatever version of you, again, whether it's little you or adult you, that fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. And I want to just be the voice for you, for your own heart. So heart, I see you. And you were always doing the best that you could. There was nothing wrong with you. You just had adults that didn't know how to handle emotions. They got triggered, and that wasn't your fault. Your emotions, your reactions, they were never your fault. You just need an adult to help you, to train you, to not judge and punish or withdraw or give you the silent treatment. You just needed help. I'm so sorry that you didn't have that. That wasn't fair. And just know that I don't shame you and I don't judge you. I'm going to work at not shaming or judging you when that rescue puppy version of you shows up in life. You were just doing the best that you could to get to safety. So it just makes sense. And heart, I won't do this journey perfectly, but I'm going to keep working at not duplicating and treating you how I was taught to treat you. And instead to treat you with the love and the compassion that you need. It might take a while, but I'm going to learn. Then I just take a couple of breaths and to allow that to just marinate on your heart. And notice your body response. And again, anything is welcome. If you notice resistance, be kind to it. Your body probably had to operate that way with even hoping for compassion. If you feel any sort of lightness or emotion, notice that. Then I want you just to ask your heart, to say, heart, what is one thing that you need from me tonight as I close out my day? Okay. Well, you go ahead and just come back to the screen when you can, but to just keep a hold of that. And if you feel any sense of lightness, again, physically in your body, they all have physiological experiences. Now you just notice that in your body. And when you get up from here, I want you to just think of what you need to do. If something came to your heart or mind when we did that, to go do that for yourself. I think sometimes our culture thinks, self-care is, painting your nails or getting into a hunting blind or, all those things are good. But this is self-care and love that your heart really deeply needs and has probably been deprived of. So then just kind of read your body. If you need to do either a walk, a little movement when we get off, or go right to bed, just kind of read what you need. Or if anything that really resonated with you tonight, write it down and see if your heart needs to return to it again later. So all this stuff, I've been around the bush so many times for my own heart, and repetition and emotion is truly how your nervous system learns a different pattern. Okay, so I encourage you, just take a minute or two to just reflect or just do what your body or heart need when you get off here, okay? Cool. Well, thanks for joining tonight. We'll pass the link when we've got it uploaded and the packet of worksheets, so you'll have those that you can review if you'd like as well. So otherwise, you guys have a great couple of weeks, and we will see you then.